What is up, guys? Welcome to the weekly pool. As you'll notice, Vinny is not here. Yes, that means we get to talk. Vinny is currently recording something for the BBC, meaning nobody else on the BBC gets to talk. So,
Those British people are just so polite; they'll never get a word in edgewise.
They will not get a word in.
Well,
It's
they can
gonna
be
be crazy.
polite until they're snarky.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So you have myself and Sal and Joel and Tiffany. I almost said Caitlin. What's wrong with me? You have us to hang out with. Oh, Tiffany, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Robin's jet lagged.
What was it? Who was it I was talking to? I think it was Joel or somebody. I was like, I could imagine Tiffany being really angry and it being like the most terrifying thing to see ever.
No one will ever say that, and if they do, they're in trouble.
Oh, that's dangerous. John Apocalypse Splood, subscribe for 3 months in a row. So we've got some pretty good topics. I cannot see the topics lest our cameras and everything get all screwed up.
Let Joel just tell us what the
Joel
topics
is
are.
the topic man. Joel, what is our
D.
first topic of the day?
All right, time to earn my place on this show. So the first piece of news, I wanted to start off with something nice, something I think we could all agree is kind of cool. Kevin Conroy, the definitive Batman. I don't care what you say. He's mine, he's yours, he's everybody's. Is coming back for a brand new animated feature. It's going to be Batman and Harley Quinn, the, new pillar of DC Comics. They're teaming them up again. Here's the thing, though. I don't know if you've seen the art style of it. It looks very much like Batman the Animated Series. They're looking to go brighter, lighter, and funnier. And most interestingly, Nightwing is going to be in this one, and it's his original voice actor coming back again, which has not been in years.
That's fantastic because the dude he still sounds like Robin, like he still sounds like Nightwing, he still sounds like that guy, and he's great. He played Iron Fist in Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and he's just fantastic. So I'm happy to hear that. I also heard no Tara Strong as Harley.
No, it's the girl from Big Bang Theory. They've got to be her now. That's weird. I kind of liked. I don't know. I don't watch that.
The
show.
main one, I guess.
Oh, Kelly Cuoco or whatever her name is.
I have no idea.
Sure, let's go with that.
That one chick that pretends to be William Shatner's daughter in those Priceline commercials, like that chick.
Yeah,
is referred to it.
Yeah.
No, I do have to wonder if maybe Tara Strong can't do it anymore.
Well, okay.
That's a very sad thing.
My question is, and I don't know, I don't even know if Arlene Sorkin's even alive anymore. My question is, why couldn't she do the voice for it? Like, she will always be the voice of Harley Quinn.
I
as
know.
far as I'm concerned.
Arlene, her voice was starting to get a little weaker towards the video games. Like, she did the voice for Harley in Arkham Asylum, like the first game,
right, not the others.
and it's pretty good. But you can hear it going, and you're like, "There's no." I don't think she'd do a whole movie. And
yeah.
I was quite a fan of Hayden Welch, who did the voice of Harley in the Assault on Arkham movie. I quite liked her take because it was different. She was doing her own thing, but it was still very much Harley Quinn. She wasn't trying to do a Sorkin impression or wasn't trying to do a Tara Strong impression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just kind of like Arlene Sorkin's whole like from New York, that New York, New Jersey area, like Mr. J. Like I always, Mr. J. Like I always think that. Yeah, exactly. It sounds legit. It sounds exactly the way you would. And I think it's also kind of like nostalgia too. Like all those people who played those voices in the old Batman show should be the only one playing those voices until forever. And if that means that we have to find a way to keep them immortal, then that means that's what we have to do. So, like, that's always, that's always been my
old
idea.
Alfred, old Mr. Freeze, old Gordon, all of them are dead, I think.
Ugh, they are.
Which is, like, the saddest thing because that Gordon, I know it's like everybody loves Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. as Alfred, but, like, that Gordon, though.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And the only one I would accept is, like, Bryan Cranston, I think, played Gordon in the Year One animated movie, and he was pretty awesome as well.
Yeah.
I don't like the phoned in Gordon you get in the video games where he's like, I'm a gruff, grizzled TV policeman. Like it's just very stock. Like I need a policeman, and it's like I will be the policeman. You're the policeman. Like no, Gordon's a character.
That's one of the Critical Role guys, isn't it? From Geek and Sundry doing the voice. I forget they did one of the Gordons at some point. I'm like, you can do better. You phoned this one in.
Yeah.
I know you can do better.
Yeah, I don't know. I need a Gordon. I'm
We
holding
do.
on for a good until the end of the night.
We sure do.
What's
He's
happening,
gotta
Rob?
be gruff and he's gotta be tough and he's gotta sound awesome when he talks. No, it's really nostalgia for me. I mean, I'm glad they do it. I'm glad they're keeping the animated series alive because that's one of the things that I was always kind of afraid of is with the direction they're going in with like all these movies and so on and so forth that they were just going to kind of let like the animated arm lapse, and it's like once every 5 years we get something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they've been doing this whole weird, like, like, every movie has been kind of interconnected with very, very rare exceptions, like Dark Knight Returns, Killing Joke. I want to see the return of the like, if they're connected, like, the fans will connect them, but if they're not, like, let's just do that,
I think the new thing they're doing now is one unconnected for every two connected ones. So we had Justice League Dark, we had Judas Contract, which just came out today or just leaked today. I can never keep track of these because they always leak and then people tweet them to me anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is the breather one. And yeah, definitely what you guys are saying. This looks to be a bit of a nostalgia trip is what they're going for. The animation looks similar, the costumes look similar.
Yeah. It comes out pretty well. Okay, we have some splooges. We have some
Yes, we do.
splooges that are due. Walking Bread, splooge. Laddie Jupiter. Why do you guys pick the names that you choose? Laddie Jupiter, splooge. We also have Saint Aeon, I guess, splooge. Thank you so much. And then we also have ICP.
The Insane Clown Posse.
Insane Clown Posse,
Juggle.
ICP. Wow, what a great play on words. 21 months in a row. Splooge.
Nice.
Splooge.
Thank you.
Yes. For all of you guys. Okay. I mean, I kind of think that's about as far as we can go with that topic. Like, yay, they're bringing some of them back. We wish they would bring back others.
Agreed.
But overall, it seems like it'll be a pretty cool thing. Joel, unless Tiffany has something to offer. Tiffany, do you have anything you want to say?
No, you guys have covered it. You're good.
Cool.
So
And
pick
I
her
mean
back.
that in a positive way.
So sticking very much in the Bat family, we got some more confirmation, some more announcements now regarding the next big, not just Batman event, but apparently the next big DC Universe-centric event. Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, they're getting the band back together, everyone, and the new story they're telling is Batman Metal.
Do we even have any idea what this is supposed to be about?
It's going to be about Nth Metal.
Really? The one thing they've never done anything with, I don't think?
Yep.
Isn't that what, what's her name's hammer's made of? Hawkgirl, her
Vanagarian metal,
mace?
yeah.
I'm not nearly as knowledgeable on, like, the DC metals as I am on Marvel.
It
So,
enables them to fly, as I recall.
Yeah.
Ooh.
okay.
It's a plot metal. It does whatever the plot needs it to do at the
It's
time.
magic adamantium.
Basically. Now, the
Actually,
thing
it's more
is,
like vibranium.
now, again, too, we had heard a little bit before about some other titles that are going to be in this series. It's Batman Dark Days The Forge and Batman Dark Days The Killin', which, hey, you notice they're all like plays on metallurgy and everything? I just got that now.
So you mean that Batman's not going to start a Metallica-like band with the rest of the Bat family?
Man, that would be good.
Much to
You got
Capullo's
Jason
dismay,
on the
probably.
drums, you got Dick playing bass.
I'm just saying,
That would be sweet.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, and Snyder's kind of been like dropping hints about it, not just the in-plot ones, but the what was it? That terrible like death metal band that sings about Batman in All-Star Batman that Snyder was just writing.
Yeah.
Duke listens to them.
Wow.
That's right.
I have no idea.
I forgot about that. Good pull, Sal.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't know. Huh?
I was going to say, from what Snyder's been saying, he's been dropping hints about this story since, like, Court of the Owls, that this is, like, a crazy idea he's had in the back of his head. And I know I was mentioning it to you, Sal, probably on another show. Is this somehow related to those, like, weird little future diversions that Snyder would occasionally take in his books? And you're always like, where the hell did this come from? Then you'd forget.
Yeah, I have no damn idea if it is like gonna pay off from all of those weird divergencies, or if this is yet another, I don't know, here's the present from Scott Snyder. Like,
Right.
it could be anything, and as I understand it, it also is referring is this connected to the Jim Lee art we saw with the Batman statue in the dark future? So
yes,
we are gonna see. It's probably gonna be like either time. It's probably gonna be time travel.
Yeah, I don't know.
I got it. On a personal note, Capullo was drawing one of my favorite indie books that wasn't Saga right now, Reborn. So I'm like, well, are you gonna keep up with that, or are you going away?
I think that's it for Reborn.
That sucks, because I like that a lot, and he was doing phenomenally there. It's like he took everything he learned on his last run in Batman and put it into this cool fantasy world. So, damn.
Seriously, if you love the look of Snyder and Capullo's Batman, check out Reborn because it is just so cool.
Yeah,
okay.
It is. Boo.
But yeah, Batman Metal. I mean, like, obviously, I'm gonna read it.
Well, because if you don't want to read that, then you can wait for like Batman Red and Blue to come out, and Batman Sun and Moon, and
and Batman Wood.
Okay.
These are all great titles. People are writing those down somewhere.
They are. They are.
I have a feeling Nintendo's gonna have a problem with it.
Oh, JD Green 3D. Sploosh. Thank you so much for subbing. I don't know. Okay, I love Scott Snyder's Batman's weird. You know, like I like it, but sometimes I don't. And I feel like with this, it's kind of like Scott Snyder went to DC and was like, look guys, I wrote Batman for years. All right, I wrote him for like, what was it, like 5 or 6 years or something like that. You know, he's like, I've been writing him for a while. Really, I mean, if you go all the way back to Black Mirror, it was even a little before then.
And he's like, back before anyone knew his name, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, I've been writing Batman for a while. Like, I think I've earned the ability to just write this story off on my own, which is kind of cool. You know, it's just right now with everything going on in DC in terms of like the Button and the Watchmen and all that kind of stuff. You know, the impending return of Superboy Prime. It's all these things where it's like I want the continuity that goes with it, and it's kind of weird reading a story that's just kind of like out there somewhere. You know.
Yeah, I hear you there. That has become the like selling point for Scott Snyder's Batman run is just kind of like, well, I did that. Like I played with the others, but now I do whatever I want. He's kind of gone full Grant Morrison, where he's like, I don't get edited. I don't have to play with others. I dictate what happens, and when I don't want to do it, I don't have to do it.
Because his name is money. They know they can put his name on it, and it will sell a massive amount. And they're right. He has a lot of good faith, and putting him back together with Capullo, that's what everyone was wanting.
All right. My other concern for this is, all right, so Snyder wrapped up AD. The last one hasn't come out yet, but he was all done with that, and he said he was really spent from that in terms of indie books, right? And then he was like, but don't worry, guys, Witches is coming. The next volume of Witches, it's on its way, right? Someone in the chat just mentioned to me that Jock is already drawing some stuff for it. I was like, that's awesome. Batman, please don't ruin this for me.
No, odds are he is like Bendis in as much as he's got the event already written.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Because like it takes, I know for some of the personal books, like for indie books like that, it really takes a lot, like regardless of what it is, because it's their creative driven story, you know?
Yeah.
He has nothing to pull on except his own thoughts and ideas in the world he's built. So I just don't want him to be like, yeah, I wrote all this Batman and I had most of which is done, but
right. But you know, I'm gonna take the paycheck because witches don't sell books.
Exactly.
It's not wrong, you know.
I mean, it's kind of true. But all right. Anyway, so Joel, what's our next point?
Well, not straying far from Batman, from Scott Snyder's Batman to Tom King's Batman, we got a little bit more info on apparently another big summer Batman event, but different than this Batman event. Metal is all of the DC universe. This one is just to the Tom King Batman stuff, and it is the War of Jokes and Riddles. We now know it's going to be 6 issues as it's going to span. And it's going to be a flashback story not long after the events of Year Zero. It is the Joker and Riddler fighting for who can wear the crown of Batman's true arch nemesis. And apparently all the other villains break up and pick sides in this thing. Instead of a hero versus hero fight, it's going to be a villain versus villain fight.
So it's Civil War, but with villain. I mean, like, come on.
Oh, dude, don't be that way. Be like Ordered Saturn. Be like Ordered Saturn. Ordered Saturn.
I like the. I actually dig on the concept. I want to read this book. I think this is the most clunky event title I've ever heard of.
Kind of.
I do. I love the event title.
War of jokes and riddles. Like, just call it the Gag War, like, or something short and simple and
the
sweet.
War
like
of the Roses.
Yeah, the War of Jokes and Riddles. Like, could it be any more on the nose? It's just like, what? I don't know. It just feels really clunky and weird, and it doesn't flow. And it's like, you're better. It's just indicative of Snyder being like, here.
Well, King.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, King. That's
No,
right.
dude, I love the name. I love the name. Like the War of Jokes and Riddles. Like I love that. Like to me, that sounds awesome. But I think honestly, I think what this is King just being like, I'm writing my Batman. I'm not writing Scott Snyder's Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that him coming along and saying, okay, you had 0 Year, you had all that kind of stuff. Like now you have my story that takes place between those. It's him just kind of like going through and creating his own little niche, saying like this is where my story picks up and kind of going from there, which is him just kind of injecting his own little thing. And it's not unheard of. Writers do that all the time to kind of make the character their own for however long their run is going to be. But I'm down with it. Like I mean, I like the idea. I mean, I think something like maybe like Batman, a villain's civil war or something like that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, but I like a War of Jokes and Riddles. I think the name's kind of cool.
Here's a question that no one seems to be bringing up, and this just hit me just now as we talk about it. This will be Tom King's first time, I think, getting to write the Joker. This may be the first time we're seeing the Joker in DC Rebirth. I know Harley doesn't count. Harley's one turned out to be
literally the only time since the 3 Joker drop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is this finally going to start going into that, the possible 3 Joker thing? Is this where we're finally going to start to see some payoff to that?
Yeah.
You would think it would have to, right?
Well, that's what King said. He said he's doing like all those different stories. He said he's finally going to get into like the actual Joker. Like he's like it's time to start focusing on like who the 3 Jokers are. Which is actually kind of a smart move. Like with everything that's happened in Batman and DC Rebirth so far, it's actually a pretty smart move because when you think about it, Superman Reborn comes, after 5 story arcs. Something like that. Between Action Comics and Superman, you get like 5 story arcs roughly between them. With Batman, it's the same. It's more or less the same thing. You get like Night of the Monster Man, and then you get Batwoman Reborn, and you get the Bat family fleshed out, and then you get this Joker reveal. And I think the reason why that works is because I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some deaths in that story, or at least some characters vanishing or something along those lines. And if that happens, then suddenly you're just like, no, I don't want them to die, because now you like not either more, or maybe you're happy they die, but you know more about the character. You're vested in the character. Whether you're vested in seeing them live or seeing them die, you're vested in the character, and you're kind of tied to the story. And so because of that, I think it's a pretty smart move. But yeah, it's supposed to start getting into the actual 3 Jokers. What's going on with that? So
good.
So just to explain it to me one more time, when is this taking place in
the War of Jokes
Batman
and
history?
Riddles? It's basically supposed to be like year 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you had the 3 stories.
Because it was year 0.
So he's gonna say like whatever the 3 Jokers is involved from. Yeah.
Yeah, because you had like Batman 0 Year, which was like that 3 story arc thing, and then this happens right after the end of that 3rd story arc.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
It's always interesting. Like I get it. Like if I were writing Batman, I too would be like, I'm going to put my mark on this button. You know what I mean? Like I want to do it. Here we go. And it's just so funny for them to be like, but we're clearly going in a direction already. So for me to do that, I have to go back in time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like to forever alter this, like I have to go back there, because otherwise, like we've already figured out what we have to do. Like we already had our meetings, we have our boards and all that stuff, and everything's already set down. So I'm gonna go back there, and I get to do whatever I want now and play in the sandbox, because like I can use anybody then.
Yeah.
And like that always like it's interesting, but at the same time, it's like I don't know.
It's only 6 issues. Like I like 0 Year, but even I'm like, okay, this was 3 volumes. This was 3 arcs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All
and
for
like,
a flashback.
It's kind of cool that they're going in to the whole 3 Jokers thing, but it also seems like they're trying to pad that a little bit more to wait to reveal it.
Yeah.
They've been burying the lead since DC Rebirth #1. Like, I mean, like, by the way, kudos to them. I'm not necessarily complaining as much as I'm just expressing my frustration as a fanboy, being like, but, like, you drop, like, literally the only conversation about the three Jokers has been from the fan community. It was like, maybe there's three, and then everyone else is just talking, like, everyone talks about the three Jokers like they know what's going on, and it's like, we all read the same one issue that referenced the three Jokers. You have no idea what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Wait, you know what it is? It's a fun thing to talk about because there is so little information about it. It lets people really just go wild with it and go like on a hunt. Like people who are fans of Batman, especially if they're fans of the detective aspect of Batman, that's right up their alley. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they want to like go through issues and be like, is that a clue? Is that a thing? You know what I mean? Like are other books going to be carrying over on this? Like it becomes like just like a fun quest almost.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like it's like who was Miles Morales in the 616 universe before they fused it, which Bendis says he will answer this summer apparently on Twitter.
Well,
Yeah.
there you
I'll
go.
believe it when I have it in my hands.
I know,
Also,
right?
Think about it, if nobody really knows anything about it, the playing field's totally like equal. It's not like anyone has like necessarily insider information on it. You know, like everyone's theory is valid until it's not at this point.
Yeah.
So it's exciting for people, but it just feels like right now they're like, and we'll tell a different Joker story in the midst of all of this. It'll lead up to it though, I promise. Just like everything else has been leading up to everything else, which is not a bad thing. It's just like, okay, come on.
Oh crap.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like we just got the Clark Kent cake. Awesome, great. Let's get some Batman stuff going here. Like let's
drop some universal truths about Batman. Like let's rebirth Batman up. Come on.
He likes black. He likes to punch people. Has a bad relationship with children.
New rule. Whenever you're coughing, don't hold the mouse. I accidentally muted you guys for like 2 seconds. I accidentally clicked the mute button, so Joel got muted. I'm sorry, guys.
No one will ever hear my zinger, my cosmic wisdom now. Thanks, Rob.
Oh man, yeah, I don't know. Okay, we have a couple splooges. God, people are making me splooge left and right. Nerd, my nerd friend, 2 months in a row, splooge. You get 2 splooges for 2 months for Dutchy 415 splooge. Thank you for subscribing, guys, or staying sub. And Sile Colo. No idea how to pronounce that name. Splooge is a good enough pronunciation for me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. See, that's the funny thing is Benny and I were talking about what's going on with the whole like Batman, and even then with like Superman, and we were talking about how Marvel would have done it if it was like Superman, and we would have had like Action Comics Volume 1, Superman Volume 1, and then Superman Reborn. We would have gotten it just like that, and so like the vanishing of Jonathan Kent wouldn't have mattered because you didn't know anything about him. You were just like, well, he's just a guy who's there. Maybe he lives, maybe he dies. You don't care. But over the course of like the whole like Action Comics Superman run, like you learn to love Jonathan, and so you're like, don't you dare kill that character, and so you get kind of bent out of shape. But Marvel would have totally screwed the pooch on that. But with Batman, it's really kind of cool because with this character again, it's just kind of build up, to this whole thing. Because by now it's just like, okay, look, I really want to see that. Should they have done it like a couple arcs ago? Sure. Do I think that I Am Bane was necessary? No. Was I Am Suicide necessary? Not really, because I Am Suicide is a prelude to I Am Bane and Justice League America and Justice League versus Suicide Squad. So I could see those stories kind of being rolled in through like editorial mandate, or maybe it really was just like, hey, let's just do this story for the sake of doing it. But in terms of like the 3 Jokers, it kind of seems like a smart build, a kind of a smart lead up. The question is, why now? Of all the times to do it, was it just doing it now just for the sake of doing it? Because he's like, okay, it's time to get around to it. Do they have something up their sleeve? And something's right around the corner that we don't know about yet that's going to become important? Because this is a lot of storytelling to do involving the Joker in a short amount of time. Because we have to assume, with it being bi-weekly, we would get this war of jokes and riddles, and then we turn around and get the 3 Jokers, and all that's probably going to happen over the course of 12 issues, around 24 weeks, which is about 6 months or so. We're going to get it pretty fast, and so it's like, and I can't help but believe, this really kind of coincides with everything that's going on with John's writing The Watchmen. And so does that mean that like by the time his Watchmen run is finished, like whatever next few story arcs that are going to kind of look at the revamped Superman landscape, are those going to be done? Is this whole Batman, revelation of the 3 Jokers going to be done? Is it all going to dead end into, you know, Hickman, or I'm sorry, not Hickman, Jeff Johns' finishing of The Watchmen.
Wouldn't that be something?
That would be something. Is it all going to dead into like Jeff Johns finishing The Watchmen, and then it's just going to be like this explosion of stuff that happens? I have no idea, but it's that whole thing that keeps me interested, that keeps me, you know, wanting more. So
yeah, that's the thing, is that like DC has one of the things that they've really managed to succeed at, and I know that like we've been talking about how great DC is and how everything's working, but like they've managed to preserve a mystery.
Yeah.
And managed to make me kind of like not guess what's going to happen, or even when I do guess what's going to happen, or if I'm like on the fence about like what happens or what's going to happen, I'm excited about it. Like I'm excited to look towards the future, and it feels like the guys who are running DC know what the plan is. Like they have a plan in front of them that says this was going to happen at this point. This point they got all plotted out, like a company would, or like a story house would. Like,
yeah,
go figure.
Most deaf.
Yeah, most def. Okay, so what's our next topic, Joel?
Well, you know what? I have another Batman themed story here, but you
Wow.
know, break up.
Yeah,
let's break up the Batman.
Break
stuff
up the
for a
Batman
second and
monotony.
Talk about something different, because like everyone has been tweeting this at me. So Seth Rogen and his writing partner Evan Goldberg continue to live their nerdy dream by using their clout and power in Hollywood to get projects they like made. So apparently they're bringing us an Invincible movie now.
Great.
That'll be interesting. I've never actually read Invincible. I've heard it's really, really good.
Yeah,
and people keep asking me
I'm
to.
surprised you haven't read it yet.
Yeah.
You were pitching it to us at dinner one of the last nights in Seattle, weren't you, Sal?
You were. We were. Benny and I both. We were really pimping it out. I'm surprised that you didn't run out and buy it. But
Yeah.
trust me, it's tight, and I'm sure Seth Rogen will get it completely right. I mean, like, look, we've seen his track record with Green Hornet. There's no way he could possibly screw this up.
And you're a big fan of Preacher too, Sal. That's well.
Yeah, and I love his interpretation of Preacher. There's no way that is a complete bastardization material.
That's, you know what it is, like, is the idea of the Invincible movie cool? Yeah. I appreciate that Seth Rogen is a fan and he wants to like make it happen. You know, my hat's off to you, man, but like, I don't know. Like, couldn't anybody else be in charge of this movie?
Yeah,
it's a real monkey's paw. He's like, I will have this thing made that I love. Oh no, because I was in charge of it.
Yeah. Exactly. It's just, I don't know.
I don't know. I could imagine that whole thing going down, and Kirkman's just like, no, like I'm literally controlling all of this. Like, Rogen, you just go out there and dance and do your song and play, you know, and do what I tell you to do.
Smoke your weed.
You know, yeah, and like I will be the one pulling the strings. You be my puppet. Like that's
what I want to see.
And who will Seth Rogen play in this?
Yes, that's a good question.
I don't know.
Who will he laugh at? And
and how will we hear him laugh?
Seth Rogen is a Canadian hero, damn it.
He's not that bad. It's just, I mean, something.
I like him.
It's something like
he's very funny. I think he's a very talented person. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Just get away from things I also like.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is. You know what? Like, when you're a fan, like, I know, and like, let's not get on Preacher, but I know he's a fan of Preacher, and it's like when you're too close to something, sometimes you're just like, I don't care, I just want it. Who cares how it happens?
Or you're just so desperate to see it get on TV that you'll just make it however it can be put on television, instead of making it the way that, like, okay, I get that you have to adapt things, but at the same time, like, there's a reason things are made a certain way. To completely change it in such a way that the show did, it's like, But then people are telling me, like, well, but season 2, they're finally going to get to it. Yeah, but there's this whole season where they don't do the book.
Right. But then, like, but what I'm saying though is that, like, if he's a fan of this, he's like I love Invincible, and all I wanted to do was see it on the big screen, and like, I'll just keep saying yes until I get to be in the theater that night. You know, it's like that's not how you do it, man. Like, you get it rolling, and then you get like real people to come in, and like you get the creator involved, and like you make sure that, you know, things are done the right way as best that they can be, because look, books can't go exactly as they are into a movie. We all know that, but you got to do your best.
Yeah. Yep. Well, it also depends on the landscape that you throw it out into. I mean, Preacher is network television. I mean, if you threw Preacher on, like, Netflix only, you could do a lot more. If you threw it on HBO, you could do a lot more and make it a lot, you know, faithful to the comics. But you can't have a guy running around just murdering people, you know, on, well, I guess you kind of could on AMC. There's only so much you can do, you know.
Yeah.
But no,
that's the thing, is that budget-wise, I would say it's almost impossible, like, to make it work, because of how many, like, how expensive it must be to try and adapt that whole series. And like, how complicated it is. I mean, like once you get deeper into the book, it gets more complicated to adapt, where you go like, how am I going to do this? Why would I do that? Like,
it really used the medium of comics, didn't it? Which is why I think it's so beloved.
Yeah. Well, it's like it's like Saga, where it's like you can't make that.
Yeah, and they went out of their way to make sure you couldn't, and I'm like, good.
Yeah, I feel like that too. Like I feel like what's his name? Ennis did the same thing. He was like, "Here's something they're never gonna make into a movie."
I don't know.
And for like a minute, HBO was like, maybe.
They did. HBO was like a day and a half away from making a full series where every issue was an episode.
Wow.
There's gonna be like 66 episodes, and the only caveat is that Mark Steven Johnson of directorial fame from the Ghost Rider film was heavily involved. But at the same time, dude loves westerns, and so it's like, oh, give him a western, maybe he'll actually do it right, especially if he wants to just make each issue an episode. I digress. It is what it is. Seth Rogen, like, good for him that he likes comics, but like, why don't you write Superbad 2? Like, why don't you stay away from that?
Wow.
Superbad 2 Revolution.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd go see it.
Why don't you just, yeah. I mean, we're all gonna go see an Invincible movie. It's just kind of, here's the thing, Rob, you gotta read it before you see that movie, because you were gonna, like, you don't want, like, holy crap moments ruined.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, I might read it and then just, like, cover it. Like, I don't know where I'd have to fit it in somewhere. Just like
huge.
Yeah, just take a break on like a series and then just like do Invincible. Maybe I'll start that this week. I have no idea. Anyway, so what is our next topic, Joel? Since you're apparently the world's biggest Batman fan, you just gave us a whole bunch of Batman content.
It was a Batman-centric week, man. I swear I didn't choose it like this. And also, hey, don't worry, we'll be talking about Marvel too, but we're saving it for the end for obvious reasons. Joss Whedon is apparently reportedly being courted for a Batgirl solo movie. Say what?
I am excited, but at the same time, I'm like, but why? Like Batgirl? Like of all the people you could pick?
Nightwing, when they mentioned that, and apparently Nightwing is even further along because we know they got one of the Lego Batman guys to do that.
Yeah. Look, I don't care what they do with Barbara Gordon, as long as they're like, I was shot in the back, like a shot through like the spine. And like I was paralyzed for a while, and I was an amazing character called Oracle. No. Here's the reason why. Because Oracle was one of the coolest concepts to do with a character. Like take Barbara Gordon, who was essentially a throwaway up until that point. She'd just show up and do stuff, whatever. She gets shot, and then she becomes like an intrinsic part of the team, where she's not just like flying in, and like beating people up. She's like the intelligence background. She's like the backbone of like
part of the universe.
Like the backbone of the superhero universe.
She was on the Squad for a bit. People forget that.
Well, it makes it cool because she's not just like a member of the Bat family. She's like the overall character, and I'm really hoping they do that, because then you could turn around and fold her in, and like somewhere along she just goes back to being Oracle again, or whatever the case may be, or she touches back on those roots. But it's like, I mean, it's cool that you're doing Batgirl, but like Batman's not even really established yet. Like,
no,
shouldn't you establish him and then do Batgirl? Like,
Whedon could totally do her being shot in the stomach and paralyzed, and then through almost supernatural means she overcomes it because she's so amazing a character. Because we all know that Joss Whedon loves the supernatural, and he loves when chicks are somehow tied to something like that, whether it be Buffy, whether it be Summer Glau or River. You know what I mean? Like, he loves that. So I could totally see him being like, no, we'll do that. But then she like overcomes it, and she becomes like this new awesome crazy Batgirl. The problem is he needs a series.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, Whedon needs a series to develop characters. Like,
even the Avengers was a series.
Yes, it was like he already was playing with characters that existed. He was like, okay, cool, everybody already knows about them. Now I'm just gonna do what I do with this, right? It's like he needs a little more build time for this, and I'm kind of surprised they're not courting him for a Batgirl series instead.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if Whedon makes us fall in love with Barbara, and then at the end paralyzes her.
Well, supposedly, word around the campfire is that this movie, should they do it, will be heavily inspired by the New 52 Gail Simone run, which I don't know if you guys remember this. I was in love with that series so much. I proposed
a Gail
to it.
Simone book? You don't say.
I know, right? I'm a man of simple taste. What can I say?
So if he does that, will he then have Barbara whisper, "I am a wing on the wind" as she's like being shot?
Oh no, I couldn't handle that.
Well, see, here's the other thing too. Like the other assumption is that like Whedon would have to like if he did that, if he did the whole Oracle thing, or like she was shot at some point and then managed to recover. Like we're kind of assuming that it would be done in a way that would make sense. He's done stuff like that before, and it makes no sense. Like you guys remember when like Colossus came back, and it was just like Colossus, I thought you were dead. Like I thought you like ingested, you know, the whole legacy virus, and then like you spawned the cure, and like you were dead. He's like, I was up until I wasn't because I was actually kidnapped by a guy, and then like resurrected or something. And so, like, I am now alive, and it's like, okay, Joss Whedon, whatever. Like,
he's like, yeah, Whedon's like, well, I wanted Colossus to be alive though, but I also wanted to get the payoff of him not being, of him having been dead. So I'm gonna just do this. And you know what? Don't ask.
Yeah. I mean, that's really what it was. So, I mean, he may go that route. I mean, honestly, with the direction the DC Cinematic Universe is going, I wouldn't be the damn slightest bit surprised either if they did that. But no, I mean, I think it's cool they're bolstering the Bat family. I think this is just one of those instances where they're kind of in the habit of like trying to run before they can walk.
Yep.
And it's like, hey, like Batman's not fleshed out. He has no solid foundation. So let's just add people to the roster. Huh?
I was gonna say also too, this Affleck Batman, what little we've seen of him, do you believe that this man would have sidekicks, that he would have children in his life?
Well,
and I know, and before people say in the comments, oh, but we saw the uniform in Batman v Superman. Yeah, for a second, and he might have been hallucinating it. They might have added that in post. You don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows.
That could also have been like a 21-year-old Batman who's like, I'm gonna bring in a kid. The kid gets killed in the first 2 weeks, and he's like, never again.
Well, that was gonna be my thought. Like, I could see like Barbara Gordon having been one of a series of different people that were in his life that he tried to train, and who, for some reason, like, you know, suffered a horrible experience. I can see that kind of going towards him being how he is now. But the issue is that you don't know, like, and that's the problem. You don't know you don't know Ben Affleck Batman's story. Like, you don't know what's happened. You don't know if this is a universe where like all he had was Jason Todd and that was it. Like, there was no Dick Grayson, you know, as his sidekick guy. Like, Dick Grayson was a guy who just became Nightwing, who was inspired by Bruce Wayne, you know, and then Bruce Wayne was like, hey, I think you're doing good work, kid. Keep it up. And that was the extent of their involvement. Like, we don't know how all that stuff comes together. And because you don't know, there's no foundation for it. There's no like, hey, like, here's why Barbara Gordon's significant is because, you know, she was a very close personal friend of Bruce Wayne's. You know, they fought side by side for years and years and years. And then he had to experience the trauma of her in addition to the trauma of Jason Todd and the trauma of all the other experiences that he's had. And because of that, it shaped him and made him who he is. It said, all we know is like, there's a chick named Batgirl and like some stuff happened and then Bruce Wayne is now grumpy, you know, and that's kind of the issue. Is like, you gotta flesh his character out.
You gotta
and then start rolling.
You can't just inject legacy where there is none.
Exactly.
Like, why not? The end.
Yeah. You gotta give people a reason to care. I mean, that's gonna be one of the worst things, because if there were anybody they were going to add to the Bat family, I would pick Barbara Gordon first. Like, I would pick her before I would pick Dick Grayson. And I know a lot of people are just like, but why? And I'd be like, because Barbara Gordon's so cool. Like, she's had so many different roles, and she's been she's been, you know, just kind of a side-along character who's just there for stuff. She's had Birds of Prey, you know, she's been Oracle, you know, she's had so many significant roles in the DC universe that if there were anybody I would pick, it would be her. Plus, I think at this point in the DC universe, in the cinematic universe, you need somebody besides Wonder Woman to be like a leading female in that thing. So
it's true. Honestly, if you're going to introduce Dick Grayson, just do Nightwing. He's too old to be Robin. Like, that Batman's too old to have Dick Grayson as Robin.
Yeah. I don't know.
I can be a boy wonder forever, though.
That'd be the creepiest thing.
You gotta go now. Now you gotta go out in the real world. Okay, bye.
Dude, I want to see that. Like, I want
pixie boots and short shorts and.
No, Alfred's just got all his stuff outside.
I want to see like Bruce Wayne like making a 30-year-old Dick Grayson just like parade around in that Robin outfit. Like, put on the outfit. This is not the
outfit. Shouldn't I have pants?
Never.
That'd be
what
weird.
My parents' death did to me.
That'd be creepy.
What? But Alfred doesn't have to wear shorts.
Yeah. Okay, so people are asking, like, why not Stephanie Brown, or why not Carrie Kelly? Because as far as I know, we're not doing The Dark Knight Returns, so there goes Carrie Kelly.
Are we not? Snyder has such a giant boner for Dark Knight Returns. He's done pretty much every panel so far. I'm shocked there was no Carrie Kelly.
Well, okay, but like,
I am earnestly surprised that if he was ever going to introduce a Robin, that it wasn't Carrie, but. I get why they didn't, and
She has one story.
they're never gonna do. Like, here's the thing: they will one day do Stephanie Brown because like the universe is infinite and time is like is meaningless. But like, they're not gonna do like. They're not gonna pick Stephanie Brown to be Robin. Sorry, both of you. Like,
I mean, I wouldn't pick that. Like, you'd literally be plucking her out of left field from like the world of obscurity, and it's just like, and Stephanie Brown. So unless you're a comic reader, you have no idea who she is. Yeah,
I would argue more people know who Damien is outside people who read comics than who know who Steph is. At least Damien has been in a bunch of the cartoons, so they can be like, oh yeah, that one.
Yeah. That would make sense.
Steph was in one cartoon for 1 minute. She was in Young Justice in the background, then we never saw her again. Which makes me think DiDio came down to the office like, are you doing Stephanie Brown again? Not on my watch.
What did I tell you? What did I say?
I hate that character, didn't you know?
That would be
I'm not afraid of
hilarious.
Dick either.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay, so what's our next topic, Joe?
Oh boy, it's the big one, the one I'm sure everyone has wanted us to talk about. I'm sure we're all chomping at the bit. This week was the Marvel Retailer Summit, wherein a bunch of the big wigs got to talk to a bunch of the stores, a bunch of the diamond people, and oh my God, was there a lot of foots being put into mouths. Where do we even start on this?
I feel like... No, go ahead, man.
Really quick point about it. Marvel normally doesn't answer questions. Usually they bail, and then DC answers the questions and looks stupid. So it is indicative of the whole thing. And this is one of my like catch-all comments, and then I'll like join you guys like after you say all your points. Because like this is so indicative of the fact that there's nobody in charge over there. Like, either there's too many cooks in the kitchen or nobody. Because, normally there was, like, a point to say, don't answer questions. We don't do this. We don't answer those questions. This time they just wandered in and said anything that they wanted. And lo and behold, the thing they said was stupid and taken entirely...
Many things were stupid.
And just taken completely and ran with it. Like, just... these guys... At the end of the day, the lesson here is that Marvel needs to get somebody... It needs a captain of the ship.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, man. Like I was going through that. I was looking at the comments that they were making, and I know Tiffany freaked out over the whole artist comment, but I was looking at the comments they were making, and I was like, really? I was like, these guys remind me of like 16-year-old kids who don't understand consequences. They're like, I'm just gonna speak my mind. I'm just gonna tell people what I think. I don't understand the idea that there are consequences later on down the road. I don't understand that like what I say has an impact. Like I'm just gonna say what I think because I'm being real. I'm being real. It's like,
I've been around for about 16 years in this world. I think I've figured it out.
Yeah, I know what's going on
this
whole
don't matter.
planet.
We're not going to create superstar artists anymore. Wow, if I was an artist for Marvel, I would be so pissed.
I'd leave. I'd be like, well, you know what? Fuck you then.
Marvel, I would be working for DC. Oh, wait a minute. Most of them are.
Yeah, I'd be like, okay, well then bye, and then I would bail out. But no, it's
Sorrentino and Mike Del Mundo making some calls all of a sudden. Hey, I got this great pitch you would love.
Well, dude, it kills me, man, because we'll get to that whole diversity discussion here in a second, but it's just like
that's a whole thing. We got other shit before we even get there.
It's like they just rolled in drunk. Like I'm with Song. It's like they rolled in and they're just like, let's say what's on our minds. No, there's a reason why you don't just say the first thing you think. It's called just like being a functioning human being,
adult,
like a functioning adult. Leave people saying everything they want to say. Leave that to like the weirdos on the internet and the people who don't know how to function in normal society. Like, leave that to them. Like, be an adult. Be smart about what you say, especially when you're in the public light and the world's already giving you shit because of your comics. Jesus.
Look, we know you hate $10 comics, but we're going to do them anyway because weirdos want to collect them all, so we're going to keep doing it.
It's like DC sent Deadman over, and they were like, do your thing, man.
Inside their body and make them say outlandish shit. Good old Boston brand.
That would, I'd actually believe that. I would believe that if they came out and they're like, look, guys, we didn't mean to say what we did. Boston brand took over our bodies. I don't know if you guys don't know, he's like this weird incorporeal ghost that just inhabits people's bodies for a while and then like tries to bang, like, what is it, Dove? Is that who it is? Like tries to bang Dove. Like we were possessed by a spirit from DC Comics. They're trying to sabotage sabotage us. Like it's, it's evil.
Look, we're gonna keep doing #1s and crossovers as much as you hate them because yes, they do sell more. Although they backpedaled on that today and said, well, actually, after Secret Empires, what we meant to say is no more crossovers for at least 18 months.
Yeah.
We think maybe. That'd be a good one. I see it.
Wait,
that's a great, nice chunk of time for them to come up with the biggest event ever.
It kills me, man. Like Rome was not built in a day, but it fucking burned down in one. So like, you know.
Oh yeah.
Well, freaking Nero fiddle, man.
Nero fiddle. I know Tiffany's dying to speak her piece
Yeah,
about artists.
Oh, okay. Look,
The artist
man.
ran.
Like literally, I'm all right. So let's just imagine me getting this information because like I am at my 9-to-5 job. I'm sitting there behind my desk. I'm doing my thing, and I look at my phone and I'm like, oh, a message in Skype. Let's see what's happening. Oh, it's Benny. What's Benny got to say? And then he just lays it out that Marvel has gone and turned on their artists, and I lost it. I lost it right there and right then. Because let me tell you something right now. If you're a comic book company, 50% of what you sell has to do with your artists, right? Your superstar writers, sure, whatever. All you're selling is scripts at that point. Yeah. And I'd love to see you just put those out. Go ahead, without covers. Because what are you going to do? No one's going to draw them for you. You're just going to have a little title on it that says like Spider-Man number like 51. Oh, okay, cool. You know what? I'm not buying that. Because without your art, your story goes nowhere. Unless you have a good story and good art simultaneously, you got nothing. You literally have nothing. And to treat your artists like that, I hope every single one of them walks out of there. I don't care contractual. I don't care if you have to make the money. You can make that money anywhere else. And I hope every other comic book company out there, whether it be Dark Horse, whether that be Vertigo, whether it be Image, whether it be DC, whether it be Oni, right now, I want you to go out there. I want you to find every single artist on that list. And I want you to go and find them and contact them because they're going to be looking anywhere else. Because if I were an artist at Marvel right now, I would be out of there. Because if you don't respect me and you don't respect art that has been going on since man could literally draw on cave walls, the very first communications we could find are actual pictograms on walls depicting what happened in history. And you're telling me, nah, the art doesn't matter. It's not what's selling the book. You know what's not selling the book? You're not selling the book.
Oh, dude, that Tiffany rant, man. If God was pissed off right now, this is what it would look like right now. This is the coolest thing. No, Tiffany's 100%. Okay, here's a really good example. World's greatest superheroes. All right. I just discovered world's greatest superheroes. All right. It was Paul Dini, I think, who wrote it, and it was Alex Ross who drew it. All right. I used this example when I was talking about art on whatchamacallit the other day, and I said like there's a really cool one. I want to say it's from the Justice Society story. I want to say that was it, but regardless of what it was, there's this really cool image that Alex Ross drew where it's like the Justice Society or Justice League, whatever it is, and it's like Superman's like running at the screen. He's got like a flag in his hand, and it's like superheroes on all the sides, you know, and there's like all these different guys, and it's like you could almost imagine like Superman just like old. Right, he's like old man Superman. Like, you know, he's lived long enough to see like his great grandkids. Lois Lane has long since been dead, you know, and he's like one of the last surviving superheroes among, you know, whatever superheroes happen to be left. And you can imagine him just like sitting, you know, in Smallville somewhere in some old house, you know, and like going through this old photograph and looking at that and saying like we were heroes once. Like that's cool because it evokes a feeling, it evokes an emotion, it makes you see things a certain way, and that's why those are so cool. You know, just because of the fact that it is art is designed for the purpose of telling the other half of the story. Like my general rule is like if I can't get into the art, I don't care about the story. I don't care how good it's written. That's why like I loved Rockefeller when he was drawing Ultimates, and then when he left, I was like, okay. That's why Sorrentino's art is half the reason why Old Man Logan is as amazing as it is. It's half the reason why him and Jeff Lemire did such a great job on Green Arrow, because the art was so cool. When you go through and you read Secret Wars, the art's amazing. You read the first two issues of Teen Titans with John Boy Myers, and they're amazing. Like you go, like art tells half the story. And so to say that it's
I would argue even more so. Remember, Sal, you probably remember this. Remember there was a bit at Marvel there for like a whole run of stories. They took the writing out and just let the artist tell the story.
Yeah,
remember that?
Yeah. Enough said. And it was just, it was actually for their top tier titles. They were just like, our artists are so capable and our writers are so capable. It was actually a way to showcase both talents, because it was a way of like, we could remove the dialogue and the writers can depict a scene so well and give it to the artist, and the artist can show it in such a way that it's just it's a perfect synergy.
Maleev did a really good one for Daredevil. Punisher had a really good one.
Spider-Man had one. There were quite a few of them, and it's funny because it illustrates a parallel between the two eras of Marvel right now, because that was a time when Marvel was gaining traction and getting back on top. They had just fallen hard. They were finally growing big. They were doing well in sales and critically doing well as well, because they brought in new talent and they were highlighting that new talent. And it's funny how they were kind of like, we can do whatever we want. Like we were making movies. Now those movies are over at other studios, but we got money from those deals. So like they're making X-Men movies, they're making Spider-Man movies. And so Marvel's like, we could do whatever we want. Tiffany, you made a point about how like we can't publish a comic book with no pictures in it. Well, they tried around 2000, 2001 when they were trying anything, and they put like photographs of girls that look like the Olsen twins and like random like script excerpts by Bendis that were just pages of text, and everyone made fun of them for how stupid and weird it was. And Marvel did it because they were like, why not? We're a publishing house, we're gonna try new things. And it was like, but like it illustrates a fundamental similarity and yet complete difference between the two, because it was two headspaces of Marvel. I can do no wrong. I'm trying something, and I'm going to be able to do it because I'm Marvel. And having someone behind the scenes that knows what they're doing, or at least has a direction, and nobody.
Yeah.
Or marketing.
Yeah.
No, it's. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tiffany.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, it comes down to the fact that, you know, Shakespeare is a bunch of wonderfully written words that is incredibly thought out and just poetic and beautiful, right? But without an actor to really present it to you, if you go to a performance of it, it's going to fall flat anyway, because you need the other half of it. If you go to see a performance of it, that performer has to understand what it is, and they have to be able to deliver it to you, and they have to just take those words and be like, here you go, check it out. Like, it's a 50-50 blend. To berate a director would not be like, you're terrible, you're awful, you're horrible, get on stage, all right, because I need to make some money.
Yeah.
Because that actor's
really lame.
No, I'm not going to do that. Like,
Because you're lucky to have a job.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, you know what? If I were them, literally, I would go and do anything else. Like,
imagine if they all stopped after that. Imagine if all the artists got together and like, okay, well, we're not going to draw your books now. We're just going to stop.
Yeah.
If there was a big Marvel writer strike.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it would.
Artist strike, rather.
It would cripple them, because they don't have a Francis Manipool. Like they don't. I mean, they don't really have anybody that can pull off art and drawing at the same time, you know, and do it kind of like consistently well. And that's one of the things that baffles me so much. Is like, why would you come out and say, like, okay, here's a really good example. Like I want to say it was issue number 5 of Trinity, and it's the cover art. The cover art was done by Clayman, and it looked amazing. I don't remember which issue it was off the top of my head, but
yes, I know what
there is like you have Wonder Woman with like her sword like pointing at the reader, and then you've got Superman and you've got Batman, and like just on that, it's like, okay, so Superman's like the moral support because of how he's standing, and like Batman's the brains, and Wonder Woman's like the warrior, and like just because of like how they're drawn, like it sends that message. You know, there was an issue of Grant Morrison's new X-Men right after ES4 Extinction, when it was Jean Grey and Emma Frost, maybe one or two other people, and they went into the mind of Xavier, and they went throughout and they discovered the origin of Cassandra Nova. There were no words in that story up until the very end, when it's like, we know who she is or something along those lines. But like the art told you everything you needed to know, and that's the important thing. Like writing and art go hand in hand. You know, you can't tell a comic, you know, without one of them. And so because of that, it doesn't make any sense to me, like why a company would come along and say, well, artists don't really matter. You know, artists are, you know, they're irrelevant, whatever. You know, like this.
It's shooting yourself in the foot.
That's exactly what it is.
Your nose to spite your face.
Well, because now, like when they're already short on writers, you know, they could very well be easily short on artists. You know, and in a time when Marvel's struggling as it is, what you don't want to do is have people who would go to Marvel and say, you know what, I don't know if I want to work there. I'll just go over to DC instead, because you're literally giving the ammunition to your competition. You know, so
they don't care about it. They can forever point to this now. Well, they didn't care about you.
Yeah.
It's so topsy-turvy. I found myself agreeing with people like Rob Liefeld and Chung on Twitter being like, man, they ain't cared about artists since our day, man. That's why we left Informed Image. And I'm like, yeah, that's right, Liefeld, but you suck. But yeah.
But you can't draw feet, Liefeld.
It's true. Marvel's always had that stigma attached to it, but like they've never come out in force like this to say something like that. To say that because of artists, that's why books aren't selling, because artists aren't selling their books, because they don't have the names that take it. You know what? Why don't you get a better plan together, Marvel? Why don't you sit down in a room and actually figure out what it is you'd like to do instead of just being like, oh, whatever, we'll try this, and I'll just point fingers. There we go. Like, you know what? You're so busy saving your job, you're not doing your job. All right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, no, okay, so somebody made a good point. Well, we make all that money for, but see, that's the problem, is this hedging your bets. The smart thing to do is hedge your bets, because here's the deal. Disney is a company that exists to make money. You know, I hate to be the bearer of bad news here for those of you guys, you know, who don't believe that, but Disney exists, like any company worth its salt exists to make money. Now, Disney's making a lot of money on the Marvel movies, but what happens when they don't? Like, what happens when they stop making money? Well, then it's like, hey, look, guys, when we have the comic book arm, well, then what happens when the comic book arm's not making money? Because Marvel was like, we don't have to worry about comic books, we have the movies. Well, then suddenly they're right back to 1996. You know, and it's just like, you know, well, I don't know what to
An
say.
example of that.
I kind of feel like when that happens, literally, I know the mouse is already in the offices. I think they'll just go in full force. They'll like Disney will go in and be like, okay, you clearly can't run anything here, so we're gonna have to do it for you.
Heads will roll.
Yeah.
Heads will roll. And even then, even if that never happens, it's just bad. It's just a shitty thing to do. Like, you know, just to tell your artists that they're
one of many shitty things they did in this conference. This is just part one of the shitty things.
Well, because then when, like, if they don't go on strike, well, suddenly it's delays. Suddenly it's, oh man, I had a really huge thing come up and I can't make that deadline, you know, because whatever.
Or like, oh man, like DC approached me, they gave me a little project, so I put that ahead of what you wanted me to do because you don't care about me. So why the hell am I caring about you?
Yeah, why would I bust my ass? Only, well, you know why? Because like because being a comic book artist, there's no health benefits with that. Like,
no,
because you need a job. And like, but the second that you tell your employee or your work for hire that they need you is the minute that they start like polishing their resume and finding other options. Because like, no one wants to be reminded that they're expendable, especially if they're not.
I just want so many subliminal dicks in the background of everything I work on. Just dicks in the background.
That would be hilarious. Like penises all over the comments.
This is, by the way, like I've been pitching this for a couple of years now. I know people have their strong opinions about him, but like I think Bendis should be editor-in-chief and just steer the damn company in the right direction. The guy has multimedia experience. He knows how to work with TV and movies. He knows how to work with the comics. And he knows good story. Just because he can't write Guardians of the Galaxy doesn't mean that he doesn't know where the direction should go or how to guide the ship. Like, or doesn't know how to find good people who are like, you know what, I really don't know how to do Cosmic. I'm just going to ask Dan Abnett to run it for me. Like, you know, just have somebody who knows the company, who loves the characters and knows the universe intimately enough to like know when it's going in the wrong direction. You know, like Bendis is their go-to guy anyway. They're like, oh, Civil War II, we got to have it, and we don't have any top writers right now. So Bendis, you write it, and he wrote it like he could, but it wasn't good because his heart wasn't in it. But he kind of like he's basically a staff writer at this point.
And you know what's funny is right now they're in such a position with having had this whole thing come out, right? And being in this place where sales aren't doing great. Some books are doing well, some books aren't. They don't know where they're going. That like it feels like the only way they're going to get themselves out of this is to have a complete change of regime. To go in there and be like, so we went in and we got rid of a few people, and this is we're gonna start over again, right? Like
the only way to fix it. You can't just like say you can't get rid of Alonzo and then end it there.
No,
like, there is a problem.
Yeah,
a fundamental problem. You can't give X-Men like Central Park and think that you fix the problem. Like you don't
dude, anything. That killed me, man.
I agree, and I feel like, you know, look, Disney's had its own issues throughout history with, you know, what PR. People think about them, PR, just in general, things that come out, things that don't. But Disney's very much on the sly about a lot of things. They try to keep things quiet for as long as they possibly can. I can imagine right now they're over there like, I'm sorry, you did what now?
Yeah.
why?
We're sending in the cleaners.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's like a nightmare for them. It's just like, you know,
the backpedaling has already started today on the diversity thing we're going to talk about, on the event thing that we talked about, and also, Hugo Award nominations came out today, and Alonzo, who I have actually talked to, who is a very nice man, was very sure to say, hey, look at all these titles from us that are up for Hugo Awards today, guys.
Yeah.
You know, and that's he's a weird guy. I literally just read a article in Forbes about him. I think it came out, I guess, like the end of March, so like just before this. I think the article had actually come out earlier, but like they printed it online or had it online for people. And like his background, it's bizarre because like he really should be like one of the good guys. He really should be one of the guys who's like fighting for all of this. And then for this all to come out like this, it surprises me. Like he's the kid who, like, his dad was a Mexican immigrant, and like when he was like 11, he had a job where it turns out he was like working for a bookie and he didn't even know about it. And like then he was like a fisherman in Alaska before he finally got his degree in journalism. So it's like, I don't know, he worked for DC, he worked for Vertigo, and then he goes and he works at Marvel with Quesada as the, like, you know, revitalization of Marvel is occurring. And to see him here now, there's something that's missing. And either it's just, you know, that
maybe
like,
he's tired.
I don't know if he's tired. Like the whole finger pointing thing, I don't know if that's just like we don't care anymore, or that's just total like we're just salty right now.
Yeah, I mean, like, I didn't think that these companies were as petty as they turn out to be. And I'm always surprised by how, like, you know, people, here's the thing. If you're in high school right now, you're going to hear a lot of people tell you, like, high school, like, or if you're in college and you deal with drama, you're going to hear this term, and it's called high school's over. Yeah, high school never ends because people don't change. Like, people are petty and frustrating, even in places where they really have no business being that way, and it's never more like apparent than in corporate America, where like the days are long and like everybody knows each other. It's like really incestuous, and it's just like they're really petty, and they like the infighting will probably have already begun. It's just nuts. It's frustrating.
Yeah.
My suggestion was, if she hadn't already gotten a job, that Karen Berger should just come in and run Marvel for a little bit. For those who don't know, Karen Berger was the woman who like took Vertigo and got like, you know, Gaiman involved and like Alan Moore involved and like all those people.
British invasion.
By the way, congratulations to Karen Berger on her promotion over at Dark Horse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird to me. Like I don't understand that. Like I don't understand why any company would want to take this. You know what? Let's talk about the diversity thing for a second.
Yes. After they offended all the artists, they then offended everybody else under the sun.
All right. So
right?
that diversity thing, Biddy called it. I mean, and that's what's so crazy about that. I feel like it's a blanket thing. You know. Okay, here's a really good example. Jane Foster Thor is selling better than Odin's Son did. All New Wolverine is selling better than Logan did. The previous Wolverine. Captain America,
Steve Rogers. Titles they say are a problem are up for Hugo Awards right now.
Like Captain America, Steve Rogers is selling better than Captain America did. It's not selling as well as Ed Brubaker's run at the beginning, but it's selling better than it was by the time Secret Wars rolled around. And really, it's selling better than everything, before Ed Brubaker.
Never reason to care about Cap now and read it. Before, it's never been a book where it's like, oh, Captain America, it's a must read.
Yeah, it's just one of those where it's interesting, where the stories are selling well. The problem is, I think what they're doing is they're looking at like a small subsect of people and saying like that's the definitive market.
They're looking at the stores is what it is. It's because stores buy more than anybody, even though we've seen the paradigm shift and all these books that they say are problematic are cleaning up on digital and trade and reaching a whole new audience. But we can't mess with the stores though, because the last time a crash happened, it was because, the stores and everything, and we got to stay tight.
Well, that's what I don't understand is,
it's old.
For me, it's
an old mentality.
Well, for me, it's not an issue of like it's not an issue. There's always going to be those people who are like, I don't want to see Thor be anybody but Odin's son. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
There's going to be those people who are like, I don't want Captain America to be anything but like a guy who fights for freedom. Okay, that's cool. Like, go enjoy your books from 20 years ago because we're living in today. And so
we'll
it's
those
cool.
versions back eventually.
We'll get them back eventually, but why wouldn't you want something new? And that's a problem. Is I think what Marvel's doing is they're creating a false corollary. They're saying like, okay, look, like these books aren't selling and we hear these people ranting about diversity, these books aren't selling because of diversity. No. These, like, Champions isn't selling because nobody wants to see the Champions go fight over the Dakota pipeline. Like, Black Widow's not selling because it's Black Widow. Because it's Black Widow, Marvel. Like no one cares.
But it's not. It's not gonna sell. Like, make Black Widow a miniseries. Like, that's all I can tell you.
Yeah, it's like sitting around saying, like, well, why can't Shang-Chi sell? Because it's Shang-Chi. There are some characters that just are never going to sell. Like no one's like, oh my god, I gotta go read the new Black Widow.
But time too. Like Luke Cage and Iron Fist. Yeah, they're big now, but they were unsellable for decades until they came back, reinvented themselves, and are big again.
Yeah, it's always like that. Like it's always like there are some comics that will just never sell, and because the market's not big enough, because people just don't care about them. Even, let me tell you something. If Black Widow was going to sell, she would have sold by now because she's in the cinematic universe. If after the Marvel Cinematic Universe people still don't care about her, she's never going to sell a comic. And so because of that, it's why look at that and say, see, like, she's not selling. We give a female character a lead role. Well, yeah, but you gave one to a female character that no one has any reason to care about because she hasn't had, like, any major substance. She's been a backup character forever. Like, sometimes you got to just take the road to Walmart where you say, you know what, we're just going to bite the bullet, we're going to take the losses, and then we're going to end up cleaning house, shut down all the mom and pop stores. I mean, I don't think shutting down mom and pop stores are good, but sometimes you just got to take the financial loss in order to build something greater. Keep Black Widow going. Keep it more than 12 issues. Because the problem is now people found out it was 12 issues. Well, what reason do I have to read it now? I'm not going to go read that. I'll just wait for to read online or something like that. Go to the Marvel Wiki or see what I want to know. That's the issue, and that's why I say a false corollary is being made, because some of the stories that are going on out there just aren't good. Like all different Avengers leading up to Kang War was not interesting to me. Uncanny Avengers was kind of cool. Deadpool is Deadpool. Like, it'll always do well. Spider-Man, Deadpool. Yeah, Spider-man, Deadpool will always do well.
And one of the few that are getting renumbered. That's another thing. They're taking safe bets on renumbering the ones people are going to buy regardless, but going back to number ones for all the other ones that they don't think do.
Exactly. But like Old Man Logan, an amazing story. Jane Foster Thor, an amazing story. Thor the Unworthy, the best Odin son story ever told. Like, there's so many great stories out there, but the problem is they're looking at that and they're saying, well, the miniseries Unworthy Thor sold well. Yeah, it's 6 issues, okay, whatever. Like they say, well, Jane Foster's not selling as well as we would like. Okay, well, she's selling better than Odin's son did, so you got that going for you. It's like, well, and then they're like, oh, well, people are ranting and raving about Captain America being a Hydra agent, and it's selling well. I mean, I don't understand that. So
that's what blows me away. A lot of the angry fans kept throwing. Yeah, it did. They kept throwing a Hydra cap under the bus. I'm like, are you reading it though? Because it's really good.
But also, like, they're acting like he's never going to be Captain America again. And it's like, here's the thing, guys. Like, if you have the same thing over and over again, you can't appreciate it anymore. Like, you have to, like, upset the apple cart every once in a while so that you can be like, oh, okay, cool. Now we're back to the status quo. I kind of missed this. And, like, without the upsetting, I couldn't have missed it.
Well, that's
like, it's okay.
Does somebody need to explain to these guys that it's fake?
Yeah, like it's not what you're seeing. It's not a window into an alternate universe. It's not real. Like it's pretend.
They're gonna change it.
Yeah,
get over it, or to Marvel, like, you're going to change it. Like, stick with it. Okay, another big problem is they look at their sales figures and they're like, well, but like in 1992. I sold 1 million copies of Spider-Man number 400, and it's like, yeah, 1992, man. The best-selling titles are like in cracking 100,000 units. Like, how many issues Quasar sold? 60 issues. They made a Quasar, and you know what? There's Quasar fans. Why? Because there were 60 issues. Because they actually kept it going. I mean, you hear people talking about how they don't want to buy. I've literally heard people complaining about the Rebirth Detective Comics because of the numbering. Like, they're like, oh, it's too high. I don't know where to jump in. It's like, okay, listen. Now it's a little messed up because it's a new universe. It's a complete relaunch, and I have no damn idea when the last issue came out between the reboot and this issue. So yeah, that's complicated. Marvel doesn't have that problem nearly as much because no book that has been relaunched in the last 2 years, because everything's been relaunched twice in 2 years, has been around long enough for you to actually be able to lose yourself. Like, you could actually track it and get your numbers back on track. But that's the vocal minority of people who aren't going to buy a book because it says 980. no Marvel book also is going to hit 980 for a long time, so you got plenty of room. And it's like, give the books the time, the space, the effort. If you don't care about your writers and artists, if you don't think that, if you don't want to deify your artists, then give new artists a shot, pay them shit wages, and then keep the books coming out at a lower cost than what you're normally printing. Like,
and stop being late too.
Reduce the number of books you're producing.
Dude.
You can't put out, like, let's say 600 books in the span of 3 months, and price them all at $4.99 and expect anyone to buy any of them.
Dude, like, not counting miniseries, Marvel has over 30 books out right now.
That's
not even counting miniseries, like 30 books. Like, it's crazy.
A lot of options and a lot of boxes to tick before you get to the diversity box.
Yeah, but they don't want to do that. They want to be able to just go like, oh, that's the problem. That's what
they want an easy scapegoat.
It's the easy fix. That's exactly what it is.
Like, let the government can make those kinds of arguments where they're like, it's like, I want an easy fix because I want to get reelected. Like, you're not going to get elected. These are jobs that you earn from higher ups and glad handing and handshakes and backroom deals. Like, just make the hard decisions. Like, there's not going to be a one answer catch-all that's going to solve your problem.
Yeah.
It's true, and it seems like they don't want to address the fact that comic book readers have only so much money. It's like they think there's some secret pool of money that no one will give them, because they refuse to look at the fact that it's like, okay, DC just did Rebirth. They're at the top of their game right now. Yeah. Everybody's buying those books. That means you have only so much extra money you're going to put towards Marvel, Image, other comics. You know what I mean? And on top of all of that, you're not just like in the 90s going against comic books and maybe trading cards and like other gaming stuff like
and
that.
New video games.
Now everybody has a cell phone, and on the cell phone you have games, and on those games you have microtransactions, and you're probably utilizing them, and there goes some of your money right there. They refuse to accept the fact that there's a finite amount of money going to comics.
And times have changed,
Yeah, and I don't know if that's because they're like, well, the cinematic universe is making tons of money, so people got money to go there. You know what? That's a different budget, guys. That's a totally different budget, and it doesn't come out every month.
They can afford $20 every year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's
one movie.
That's the crazy thing is okay. So like the new X-Men books. All right, we get Jean Grey. Why? We get Cable. Why? You get seriously. Like, why are we getting like a Jean Grey comic? Like, why are we getting a Cable? Like, that's kind of the problem. Is it's like, hey, well, you'll read her comic and then you'll learn to identify with her. No, but what if I don't? Like, what if all I want to do is I want to see Jean Grey with other people? What if I don't care about Jean Grey? Like, what, and that's the issue. Like, that's one of the problems. Is it's almost like throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. Which in some ways, in some circumstances, I guess would work. But the issue here isn't diversity. The issue here is either storytelling or just those fucking weirdos that don't want to see shit change. Like, it's one of those two things. And I'd be hard pressed to believe that like people who don't want things to change are the majority. That's not the majority. That's the minority. It's like it's
the
those
vocal minority.
It's those 30 people that dislike every time I put up a Sam Wilson video. Like it's just those that small number of weird people that just don't like things that are different.
Then let them are being actively mocked in the book itself.
Then let them just go be weird and let them just go read comics from 20 years ago and talk about how great fucking Walt Simonson's run of Thor was. Like let them go be those guys. Like all I want are great stories, and I want things that are new, and I want things that are interesting. Like Captain America, Steve Rogers, best Captain America stories that have been told in forever. Jane Foster Thor, one of the best characters I've seen in a long time. Uncanny Avengers, it's the Avengers Unity Squad, but the stories are still pretty good. They fought Hank Pym Ultron when he fell out of the fucking sky. They fought the Incredible Hulk when he was
X-Men book right now.
Yeah, and they fought the Incredible Hulk when he was resurrected by the Hand. Like X-Men Prime #1 is cool. It's a cool kind of return to familiarity. But at the end of the comic, I was like, okay, cool. So this is when they go back to Westchester. Nope, we put them in Central Park. Why? Well, because Central Park, whatever. Fuck it, it makes sense. Like there are things like there's stuff that they're doing that don't make any sense. Like a really good example is Ultimates. I loved Ultimates. Some great story. I love Marvel cosmology. We get like Galactus as the life bringer, like a total opposite of what he's been. He just flies around the cosmos, I hunger, consuming worlds and shit, sending Silver Surfer off to find new ones. It's cool to see, but then it's like we get to see him as a life bringer. Like he's just like I'm seeding worlds now. Like I'm not destroying stuff. I'm making stuff, and it's like that's cool. I can't wait to see where this takes us. It takes us within 20 issues right back to him being the devourer of worlds, and it's like, well, that's cool. Now I don't get to see where this journey takes him because he's only done like 4 things. Like he restored the world that he first consumed. He went to go see the Molecule Man Owen Reese, who said, "Hey man, the multiverse exists," and some folks don't remember what happened before. And then he went to go do he made Anti-Man into a Herald, and then he went to go meet Logos, and Logos turned him back into the Devourer of Worlds. He's done like 4 things, and it's like, how can you learn to love a character who does so few things? How can you look at that and say that's such a cool idea, such a cool concept, when it's not even remotely close to being fleshed out? And that's just one thing. Like, it doesn't take into account Silver Surfer. That's not taking into account Spider-Man. Marvel editorial needs to let Mary Jane Watson and Peter Parker get back together, man. The hell with all that editorial stuff. Like, so many things are just not where they need to be. And it's like they don't grasp the idea that diversity isn't the problem, that storytelling is the problem.
It's being late. It's constantly starting over.
Yeah.
It's funny, like, we're talking about, like, characters who they're saying aren't selling books, and yet characters that are selling better than ever before. You look at Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange, who, yes, just had a movie, but when you read that book has nothing to do with that movie at all. Yeah. Jason Aaron was like, I'm telling a story, and I am going to make it different. I'm going to take magic out of the world. And we're still dealing with that. We're like 16, 17 issues in, and we're still dealing with that. He is unafraid to continue with a story that he wants to tell, and that's what we need. We need writers who aren't afraid to tell a story.
Yeah. Well, you also need editorial to recognize good story and to recognize when a risk is going to pay off. I mean, like, it is in effect not too dissimilar from making movies where it's like, well, I don't know, like, you kind of have to artificially create a system where you recognize what is going to actually create a return, because it is an investment, because comics, like movies, are an investment. You have to spend money before you actually start selling the books, and you're putting in a certain amount of money in order to produce them. So you got to see some kind of return on that. But, like, the fact is, if you have quality control and you have a clear direction, by and large, you will make money. And in the comic book field, it's actually kind of interesting because it's so much smaller, more narrow, and more rabid. Like, you have film buffs, right? But you don't have the kind of ratio of people who go see movies and people who read comic books the way, like, or I'm sorry, you don't have the ratio of people who go see movies and people who see every movie.
Yeah.
Like you do in comics, where it's like we have people who casually read comics, and then we have people who buy every comic or need to read every comic. And, like, so, if you're going to cater to an audience, like, look, you know why so many people are bitching about diversity? Because if they don't like it, they're still buying it because they feel compelled to buy it. And it's like, but no, we're trying to build a new audience with this new initiative. If, in fact, it was an initiative that was spearheaded by a genuine desire to build an audience and also tell new stories. But the fact is, like, there's never enough time to build it. Like, everybody's talking about
always
legacy.
Changing.
You look at like Rebirth, you look at the Generation story that's coming up. Like, everybody's talking about legacy, but Marvel doesn't want to take the time to actually build that legacy and, like, plant your feet and tell stories for a little bit longer than, like, 12 issues.
Yeah. No. Okay. Here's a really good example. Iron Man. All right. Iron Man is a really good example. All right. Civil War. And you guys remember just as well as I do. Civil War comes out. Iron Man was the most hated character in Marvel Comics. People were like, why would they make Iron Man that guy? Why would they do that with Iron Man? I hate Iron Man. I'm never going to read an Iron Man story again. We get Civil War. All right. We get, Iron Man, Director of S.H.I.E.L.D., or whatever that little series was. All right. And then we get, like, a series of redemption stories, which dead ends into Iron Man Volume 5. Like, an amazing line of story. I loved Iron Man Volume 5. It only ran for 20-something issues, but it was great for what it was. I absolutely loved it. And then we got, like a Superior Iron Man, after subsequent stories, acts and stuff like that. That's a perfect example. Like, I mean, Generations, I'm sure, will be a cool idea, but I don't need a long dead. I don't need Marvell the Kree, who died in 1984, 30-some years ago.
To team up with.
Yeah, I don't need him coming back to, like, teach Carol Danvers the error of her ways. Give me redemption stories with Carol Danvers. Like, give me the redemption stories where Carol Danvers is like, God, I really wish I could have done things differently. Maybe I can do something to make up for it, or whatever it is. Have a story where, like, she dies trying to save the world, like some heroic thing or something like that, and then eventually she comes back. Give me redemption stories with her character. Show me that cycle of her assuredness that she's right, only for her to realize that she was wrong, and then how she comes to grips with the fact that she was wrong, and she eventually goes back to being a great hero again. Give me those stories, but we're not going to get that. We're in the midst of her, realizing that she was wrong, but then the problem is that the story sucks, and so then we turn around and we see Generations, and then it's like, well, the only way for her to realize she was right was to hang out with Marvel. Why? Like, why? Is that the only way she could realize she was right?
I think because they're learning the wrong lesson, because they're looking at DC, and DC, of course, is a pantheon. They have mythology, and they're doing something like that. They're going back to that, right? And they're like, well, we'll just do the same thing. You don't have that. That's the appeal. Like, it's the world outside your window. There you go. That's what you guys are. You're people, and people have to deal with real problems. We don't get to go back and talk to a previous version of us, or someone from our past, or someone we don't even know who's like 100 years old and gone forever. We don't do that. We have to get up every day, and we have to deal with the problems that face us, and that's what you're supposed to be giving us. And you won't let the characters do that for some reason, and I don't know why. I don't know why you're looking at them, because like that's the problem with like the DC Cinematic Universe versus the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yeah. Like, what are you guys doing over there? Like, recognize what you have and be happy with it, because you do have something that's different than what DC has, and that's what makes both companies so great.
This is exactly. I know I've mentioned this before, but like in my email correspondence with Joe Quesada from years past about One More Day, before One More Day happened, it was like as One More Day was like leading up, and the rumors were starting to swirl about it. And I sent him an email, and we were talking about how like I'm like, Peter Parker needs to like I'm like, you can't use magic because magic would be inorganic. It like your stories are all linear. Your continuity has been the same continuity since 1960, like whatever. Like, it's been going on forever. You need to preserve that. And he likened Peter Parker to Superman. He was like, Superman and Spider-Man are basically the same character, and like they're the flagship characters and blah blah. And I'm like, you're demonstrating a fundamental misunderstanding of your own universe. Like, he was applying, and I know what he was trying to say. He was trying to say that like Spider-Man and Superman are the most recognizable superheroes. Like, Spider-Man is our Superman, but he misunderstood the lesson, which was that Peter Parker's a guy and Superman is an ideal. And like, people screw up and Superman shouldn't. And you can't take a Superman story and then go like, well, now let's give it to Spider-Man and make that work. Marvel's stories are about people. It's, I think, why the long continuity that's been going on forever is so attractive, and why it works so well. It's because these are folk who screw up or like don't, or you know what I mean. Like Cap being a Nazi.
If you smell what the Betty's cooking.
Wow, you just interrupted Sal in the middle of his whole.
There you go.
thing.
He was on a great turn right there.
Yeah.
And he just hijacked the whole thing.
Shut up, Joel. I'm sorry, Sal. Where were you?
Wow.
I don't know. Doesn't matter.
It matters. It matters, man. Keep going.
Was missing me. I wanted to come say hi to my peeps, yo.
You're not too big for us now that you've been on British television.
Oh, this is my last episode ever. But
You're gonna move to England now. Gonna hang out with Harry Potter and Paddington Bear and all of them.
Yeah.
Wait, really? That's all? Oh, the Brits. Harry Potter and Paddington Bear. That's all I know.
They're wonderful.
Is Paddington Bear British?
He moves there.
I didn't think he was either. Thank you. No, Sal, you're right. Joel, just shut up. Just go to your corner, Joel.
He's from darkest Peru. It's an immigration story, man.
Anyway, Sal.
Saying, Sal.
Yeah,
I assume
finish
you guys
your-
are ending the show, so I was jumping in to say goodbye. So I'll let you finish, Sal. Do your thing.
Well, just Marvel needs to embrace what they have and not just be like thankful for it, but more like embrace it and embrace the story potential that your universe automatically generates, because there's a reason the movies work too, and it's not just because there's a magic formula that says like snarky character plus like attractive girl that doesn't do anything equals like big bucks. Like, you need they're identifiable. It's why Superman movies don't usually resonate with their audience, because like people are like, well, Superman's a god, so I'll tell a story about a god, which is of course totally relatable to everybody. And why Tony Stark was like such a big success. It's like because that's why Marvel works, because it's about folk. That's all.
Yeah.
That's a good point, Sal. I apologize for interrupting you.
No, you're fine.
Sal's pissed.
No, I'm like, I think we're good. Like, what's the next? Was there another thing?
Nope, that was it.
No, that was
You want me
it.
to tell you about what happened with the BBTV?
Yeah, let's hear it.
So I like, it got delayed by a bunch, And I think so. I was told that I was going to be on the show with 2 artists, and we were going to discuss diversity in comics. And my concern was that they were going to try to pit me as the white male classic fan argument guy, you know? Yeah. And they screened me beforehand, and I told them my opinions that diversity is great, but I feel like Marvel just shoehorned it in. They needed to pace it out better, you know, but I was all for diversity. The show started up. I got asked like 2 questions that I got to answer. One question was like, the whole thing's talking about diversity. And the other person they brought on wasn't the artist. It was a random blogger girl that I've never heard of, but I guess she's big in her scene with it, whatever. I mean, I don't know everyone in the comic scene, so I'm not going to pretend I do.
You don't.
But she came out like guns blazing, you know, like feminist agenda. This is what we need to do. We got to move things forward, and we got to have diversity. But like that standard other side of the argument, which then either put me in the position of agreeing with her or fighting against her. And I'm like, no, I agree. We need diversity in comics. I just feel like so they asked me like one other question, and it was just like, how do you feel about Kamala Khan? How do you feel about diversity? I answered both those questions. The third question was, and so after talking about Kamala Khan and diversity in general, the question then was, the question was, do you feel that Captain America needs to sell? And I'm like, I don't think I heard that question. Could you repeat it? Yeah. Do you think Captain America needs to sell? And I'm like in general? Like,
yeah, like what a weird question.
Or are we asking about like, does he need to sell as a black male? Like, how does this relate to diversity? Yeah, everything has to sell in general. Like, yeah. So I stand on that question, and then the other girl jumped in to answer it, and they cut her off and ended the segment.
Oh.
So I drove like an hour, waited around for an hour to get like 5 minutes on the air, get a weird question, and they've already sent an email apologizing that the presenter wasn't briefed on what she was talking about.
Oh, sweet.
Wow.
No. So I was like, all right, whatever.
Oh, no.
Apparently the guy who brought me on the show is a fan, and so if he's watching this post, thank you. It was a great experience. I had nothing against it. I felt I could have been a little better prepared, or the presenter could have been, but it's not a big deal. I had a lot of fun. So, but I still find the whole thing funny. I was like, that was something I did.
Yeah. Yeah, you can just chalk it up to a resume. I was on BBC once.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's kind of like Rob and his Geek and Sundry thing. Like, I don't regret it. It was weird as hell.
Man, it was weird as hell. Playing board games.
Yeah, don't forget, you can always watch Rob in like 2 episodes of some show that Geek and Sundry abandoned. Check it out.
Yeah, it's a show that did well for the first episode and then just. Oh, it was rough.
Yeah, it was interesting. I have a feeling because the guy who arranged it is a fan. He said he's a fan.
Oh, that's nice.
So I have a feeling he arranged it because he wanted to have a good discussion, and I have a feeling BBC arranged it as in they wanted us to argue. And since we weren't arguing, they were like, "This isn't what we want," and they just
the show.
Yeah.
I thought you said this guy was really angry. You really dropped the ball on this one.
I don't know. It was cool, and I do appreciate it. I got to send him an email saying, no, it's perfectly fine. I really do appreciate it, but it was funny.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's cool.
Yeah, man.
All right, guys. So I guess that kind of wraps up our episode of the Weekly Poll. Sal, of course, being an amazing rant, and then Benny just cutting him off. Standard for Benny.
Sorry, Sal. I didn't even look at the episode. I just figured if you're still live, you guys are probably saying your goodbyes at that time I jumped in. And I'm like, I'll just jump in and say hi.
Yeah, I honestly have no idea what time it is. I didn't even look.
It's like 7:30.
It's like 5:20 my time, so like 7:20 for you. And normally after 7 is when we start winding down. Nothing's going on.
Yeah, the show's over.
Yeah.
Speedy week.
It's wild.
No, I can answer that. It's probably Rob's thing.
What?
And like that, Benny's gone. Ninja smoke.
And he's gone. Was he ever really here?
Like Kaiser Sose, he's gone.
So that happened.
Oh my God!
Anyway,
Harry Potter was inside the mug.
Wow. Yeah. So I guess. Kaiser Soze. Yeah. Usual Suspects. Okay. Yeah. I was trying to think about that while you were talking, and and just like that, he's gone. He just walks outside the police station, and then like his friend picks him up, and that's the end of that. When criminals want
to scare each other, they tell Kaiser Soze stories.
Dude, I love The Usual Suspects.
How do you shoot the devil in the back?
Yep.
What if you miss?
What if you miss? God, that movie's so good. The greatest trick the devil ever played was convincing the world he didn't exist. Yeah. Oh, God, I love that movie. Anyway, guys, so what does everybody have going on this week since we're kind of wrapping up this episode?
Good question. Off the Rack hit 201 episodes this week, so if you haven't checked it out, we tear X-Men Prime a new one and then recommend some books for this week. And coming up on back issues, we're finally delving into the Jeff Loeb Superman Batman book. So, but Stay Tuned Networks next week, as Tiffany is hosting back issues, and it's on Monsters Unleashed. So,
oh wow, I still haven't done that yet. I don't know if I'm gonna do. I might as well do that this week.
Yep.
Wow.
I want to watch that episode because I didn't read the book.
It was great to be on it because I got a first row seat to actually know what the hell happened in that book.
Wow.
Yeah, I read it all the way through because I wanted to.
Wow. I still haven't read it all the way through. I read like issue number 1.
That's okay. I liked it.
Awesome. Joel?
Yeah.
Well, for me, as always, Wednesday morning at 8, you can listen to the brand new episode of the Comic Multiverse. That's the show I do with Matt. And if you're interested in my Power Ranger reviews, I actually caught up on the 2 issues I fell behind on. For those who haven't been reading it, Kyle Higgins has been doing this crazy Injustice Days of Future Past style story, but with the Power Rangers. It's awesome. You're going to like it.
Wow. Well, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what I'm doing. I got How to Kill Superheroes, or How to Kill Ghost Rider tomorrow. People have been asking, like, how come you're not doing as much Marvel content as you used to? Because no one cares. Because people care more about DC than they do about Marvel, ironically enough, for my channel having the history that it does. But I'll probably have to do some Marvel something. Maybe Monsters Unleashed and then something else. I have no idea. Like, I haven't read Monsters Unleashed, so I might like it. I might enjoy it. But, yeah, I need to figure something out. Oh, I was so disappointed when I realized that Infamous Iron Man was like a 9-issue series. Because I was like, issue number 6 comes out. I'm going to do it this week. And then it's like, to be continued. And I was like, no. Bendis.
Yeah.
Why you do this to me?
You done hornswoggled me.
Yeah, hornswoggled me, yeah. But yeah, like, I'll have that coming out this week.
That's what's happening.
Yeah, something along those lines. Anyway. Guys, we're going to bring this episode to an end.
Wait,
Another episode of The Weekly Pool.
before you go, don't forget to. I'm also posting it because
we're bouncing out of here, guys. We're getting off.
Oh my God!
No, I'm just kidding.
Don't forget, if you guys want to hang out with the Weekly Poll outside of the Weekly Poll podcast, you can head over to the Discord. The link is all over the place. You could go there. The community is building. People are there. They'll chat with you. They'll hang out with you. There's all kinds of things going on there. So don't forget to make sure you come back every Thursday to check out the poll where we talk about comics. Even last week when it was a 4th week of comics, and oh God.
Yeah. God, there were like
rough in parts, but we made a show happen.
It was real bad, guys.
Dude, there were like 10 total comics.
Yeah.
It was rough, man. I was like, really? We have like 10 comics coming out from each publisher? But why though? I don't know. It's weird. Anyway, guys, we're gonna wrap this episode up. Thanks for coming out, everyone. I think Benny wants to play Overwatch. I have no idea. And yeah, we'll catch you guys later.
Yeah.
Peace.